Welcome to our first webinar. It's going to be one of the first in a series of webinars that we are conducting over the course of this year. As you can see, the first webinar is going to be talking a little bit about events and what are the benefits for B2B businesses. We're going to take a little bit of a deep dive into obviously the benefits, because that's why we're here. A little bit more about how businesses what businesses might expect if they're attending an event, and also constructing an event as well. We'll also look at cost-effective ways for marketing your event, cost-effective ways of also attending, and also creating your own event. So there's lots of little elements there that we will be talking today in this webinar as we go through. As our first slide, we're going to be talking a little bit about why businesses should be attending the events. This is more in line with the fact that COVID is starting to come back a little bit, and businesses are kind of hesitating as to whether they should be making events, what they should be doing differently in 2023, and also whether things should be progressing onwards from when COVID was around.
When it comes to attending events and creating events, we find that one of the best advantages for businesses is brand awareness and networking. So you're basically getting your business to a place full of people who are interested in purchasing or interested in learning more about the particular sector that the event is focusing on. So you can have industry-specific events. There's quite a collection of niche events that are out there. You have like baking events, there's events that are like caravanning, events that are like car-based, IT events, and then there are actual networking events that people can both attend as a networker and have stands at. So we find that when we work with a lot of events companies, when they are actually putting on the event, they will only allow specific people who are interested to attend. So they have to fill out a form. They can't just buy a ticket and attend. They have to actually have like a necessary, like they have to have a need for wanting to go to that and will be intending to buy or to network. And then again, just having a stand that has all your branding on, that people will come up to you and just want free merch. And again, they are taking away your merchandise, they're taking away your contact details, and we'll have that brand awareness spread through. Just even you'll have like a small stand at an event, that's because you do have to pay for different stand sizes. They have different shell schemes, a lot of events, and they will be different prices. So it really depends on like your goals for the event, like if you just want to network, or if it's just for brand awareness, or if you are showcasing actual products or showcasing particular services. Some have like a seated area where people can go and actually ask questions and engage with you through the entire like sales funnel. So it really depends on when you attend an event. You really want to know what you want to get out of it and how much of the sales funnel you want to complete during an event. So it's a good place to basically talk to potential customers and even potential other businesses that you could collaborate with, because you are there with lots of other businesses at the same time. So it is definitely good for that kind of side of getting your message out there to a lot of people in a short period of time to an engaged audience.
And I think that kind of draws on to the points that we have below as well. So, for example, the instant feedback, you're actually engaging with your audience who are there because they are interested. This does apply to B2C events as well. So, for example, I used to work for a gin event company, and we would see instant feedback from the customers trying a variety of different gins, even our own products as well. So it's great to raise our awareness and get that feedback, and actually go away from an event and maybe even enter a research and development phase for a new product. events are also a good way of getting instant feedback for new products that you've just launched, whether that might be at the event or whether that might be prior to the event as well. And also as well with networking, and also drawing on April's point of signing up events will require you to have an interest to attend an event. The organisers will use that data generation to pass on to suppliers who might be looking to sell to you. Particularly around big events as well, you might find that you can't get around the whole event in a day. So it's always handy to pass on information so that people can get in touch with you in case you've missed someone and you go, actually, that's really helpful. I didn't see you guys at the event, but I really wanted to speak to you. Or that product's a good idea and I hadn't even thought about it. And further on, you might just want to process the information from an event and later on be reminded of what you have seen. Because an event is a full day and you might not necessarily have a chance to process all of that information you're being bombarded with. The next point is to attend an event or create an event is to stay on top of your competition. So if you're attending an event, you can obviously do a lot of research, find out what your competitors are doing, whether you are just looking to see how they behave in an event, what products are they offering, are they launching anything new, and it just kind of touches back into that point that I mentioned earlier. And then the next one is to boost your content marketing, obviously, content marketer. You might be attending an event to actually produce content, or so for example, if you're a business talking around, say for example, the Consumer Electronics Show, you might be in attendance because you're writing up blogs for the technology industry. And you might be talking about like computers that were there or the latest and greatest technology that might have been revealed. So yeah, there's lots of opportunities at events like that. And then obviously, again, touching a little bit onto launching a new product or service. If you're attending an event, you could just literally be a panelist, and you could just be launching your new product or service via that way. Or even if you're creating an event to launch a new product or service, we'll talk a little bit more in detail about that. So what are the benefits exactly? April, would you like to talk us through some of those?
So, a bit like we said earlier, so your ideal audience is available in one space, and they tend to have the intent of purchasing or making decisions. I know that when we research different events to go to, they tend to advertise the number of people who attend and the number of people in senior positions who are actually willing to be in conversation with you. So a lot of events will do the research for you, which is really beneficial because you have the numbers before you even attend. And if you are trying to make a case to perhaps a senior member in your team to try and make an attend an event, or if you're doing research for a customer, depends if you're like an agency worker, for example, they will have the numbers there available for you, so you can make a case to attend or kind of show interest in particular events. And because you are actually at an event with people who are willing to make a decision and build relationships, because it is essentially a networking opportunity as well, you can build the customer relationship. You're talking directly to your audience. You're having a face to your brand or your product. Like a lot of time when people are buying things, they don't tend to see the person behind the product. They just see like an inhuman thing that they're purchasing until they get later on in the funnel in the purchasing funnel. But when people actually attend events, they do get to speak to you face to face. You have an opportunity to kind of even if it's just swap business cards or talk a little bit about what you do have the opportunity to meet new people and essentially build up a relationship with customers or even other businesses who may be willing to kind of work with you. And it also gives you a chance to talk to your competitors, kind of see what they're doing, learn a bit more about the things that they offer and kind of how they are different from you, if they've got a particular USP that sticks out. And you can kind of also see how many people are going up to them and listening to their products or service pitches. And you can even go up to them and ask questions. They might not necessarily know who you are, know that you're a competitor, so they'll be willing to kind of talk a bit more about what they offer and why they might be better than perhaps what you offer. And you can kind of basically just scope out the competition that way. You can go live with your audience. We say that when you are at an event, it's always good to take the opportunity to market yourself. So you can go live on, Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live. You can have lives on TikTok and Instagram. So you can kind of have an opportunity to have all this content there for you at a particular time. So we always find it's a good idea to have someone who's like a marketer or a social media person to be at the event with you, just because you have the opportunity to get images, videos, you could get interviews with potential customers, people who have worked with you in the past, and you can also walk around the event and say what you're up to. And again, it's an opportunity to launch a new product or service with a captive audience. So you could have an event that's literally just a product launch, or you could launch products at events that focus on different focus on your sector, your industry, or even just like a wider audience. So you could launch a particular product at a Comic-Con, for example, because you have a massive engaged audience, or if you find that you have a lot of people who would attend a single event that's just about you, then you can have that as a product launch. So there are a lot of benefits of having an event in person compared to online, just because it gives you the opportunity to talk to real people and humanize your brand and actually talk about who you are and what you're doing. And people are more inclined to have a conversation with you if it's face to face rather than online. So I think there are definitely a lot of benefits of investing in events. And even if you haven't made an event in the past, just go to a few so that you can get the research and kind of see what they're all about.
I think it's really important as well in 2023 to become more personal. I think it's trying to get back to that out the other side of COVID. And drawing on your point a little bit, April, is to be present. To be present for your audience, particularly because they're all going to be in one space. They're already there because they're interested in the event. Whether they make a decision right there and then to purchase, or whether they go away, they've got access to the experts right there in front of them. And that is one of the key things, really, is talking more to humans than to like the chatbots online, or just reading up about the product as well, like a blog or and it just really invokes that human connection a lot more to a product. And we see it a lot all the time with events where someone will be just so passionate about the product they're trying to sell, and sometimes you don't even need to sell it, it just speaks for itself. But there are plenty of opportunities out there.
AI and automation is not just in events, but people are using a lot with other marketing, especially as we get into 2023. People want to kind of speed up a lot of their processes through AI automation, like email, social media. But again, we find that the human side is what's important. So we advise that you can use AI and automation in like the back end stuff to speed up processes. But again, people want to know the human side. So any content that you produce, if it's anything to do, even if it's not necessarily content to do with events, that it's written by you for humans by humans rather than just kind of letting AI take over?
So we've just got a little bit into more detail about the differences between being an attendee or an exhibitor. These are just obviously points we may have already highlighted or things that you might not have even considered. Obviously, there's a lot of crossover here between obviously attending and being an exhibitor. And obviously, we'll come on to the cost side of things in a minute. But there are a lot of similarities, as you can see in this table, in the fact that obviously you can attend free or paid events depending on your budget for this year. You can also, it will depend as well what event you are looking to attend as to what kind of information you would like to receive, or even try and gather data to help you potentially grow your network or grow your pipeline, as it were. Again, further down the table there, you've got free or paid merchandise, which we'll come on to a little bit in the saving cost section. And then eventually we've got the brand awareness, which we talked about earlier, if you're an exhibitor, and potentially free marketing activities, which a lot of organisers of events will happily offer. Say, for example, emails, things like they might advertise your brand in a magazine. Even you could do that yourself as well, is like pick a magazine that might be suitable for you and your brand, and then say, hey, we're going to be launching a new product. Come visit us at this event. There's a lot of messaging and targeting you could be doing, and it doesn't even have to be that expensive either. So if you've got it in your budget, it's well worth doing. And then if you're an attendee, you'll receive marketing updates around the current and future event. So you could look to receive emails, look out for events in, again, appropriate magazines, newspapers, if people still read those. And kind of, yeah, those are the main points we have there. So we're going to talk a little bit how businesses can save costs with events, whether you're attending or creating an event in 2023. So we've just got a few bullet points there. One of the first points is we talked a little bit about gifting merchandise or receiving merchandise. But this was targeting around if you're attending an event and you're looking to offer merchandise, or you're creating an event and it's part of the ticket. A lot of people will be reevaluating this year as to what merchandise is on offer, but it may be a case that you might want to shift older stock to save costs. You could also buy merchandise in stock, rather in bulk. If you're doing multiple events, if it's just a one-off event, you might find that it could be quite costly, in which case you might want to consider doing something else. Whether that might be a case, right, okay, we'll just produce literature and offer a free pen or a lanyard or something along those lines, just to make people have something to walk away with. If you're attending an event or actually organising an event, it's wise to consider travel, accommodation, and food costs. So we've got and the fact that VR headsets are now going to be making their way into the industry, which might be the shape of the future, where we'd be attending events online, but as like an avatar. So we could find that we are walking around as a digital avatar, and you'd still have like a shell scheme, and it'll still be like an event. And you just literally are walking around in your living room as such. So that could be a way of moving forward within that space as well to consider. Considering whether you are planning an event as to whether to make it take place online. However, there are pros and cons which we've outlined during this webinar as to whether that's feasible in terms of the costs, or whether that might be a case of actually we want to be able to speak to our the people that are attending a bit more about our product. This can also be a benefit as well in terms of trying to level out any misconceptions around your service or product. Obviously, whether you take your event online will the venue hire is free. It may be a case that you might need to evaluate the costs around like a streaming service, a bit like we have done. And then also, if you are looking to have an in-person event, is obviously the location is very important. A lot of events are held in London or Manchester, in major cities, but obviously you've got to factor in whether attendees can make it on certain dates, and also whether they can actually make it to places like London, for example. Also, events hire or venue hire could be cheaper on certain dates, such as middle of the week. So there's that to consider as well. Other costs might be, can you outsource any of your elements of your event to potentially save you money, potentially. Marketing is definitely one of them. Hello. And there might be other things like graphic design, or you might need to have a lot of things printed, and particularly if you're looking to have a lot of out-of-house advertising as well. So there are those things to consider as well. Also consider your pricing strategy for tickets in for 2023. If you've had a year of events already, 2022, then you might be looking to reprice your tickets. A lot of events aren't cheap to attend, so actually you might want to consider whether it's worth going if you've already been. So there are lots of elements into that. If you are creating an event, for example, you might want to look at having a pricing structure as well. So whether you offer a standard ticket and they get a package included in that, or whether you offer a VIP ticket as well. So there's lots of elements there around, actually driving revenue for your event. And should you actually have a free event as well? Is it valuable enough to be operating at an event at a level that you could start charging? And then obviously we are here obviously talking about this, and to potentially employ cost-effective marketing to aim to sell those tickets, and also ways of gaining attendees if your event is free. So yeah, there's a lot of things you could be doing to achieve, attending an event, and also running an event in 2023, and there's lots of elements to be considering. And there we are. We have reached the end of this webinar. Is there any points you'd like to draw upon, April, before we finish?
Yeah, I was thinking about when people attend events and are attending events regularly, it'll be a good idea to have stuff for events, such as feather banners and the pull-out banners that you can buy as a one-off cost, and then you can use them in the future for different events. We find that it's easier to have more generic branding focused kind of merch and stuff that you can use to kind of draw attention, such as banners, such as feather flags and stuff like that, to gain attention. Bunting as another example that you can use across different different events. You can have specific furniture that's for events that you can have that's easy to carry and bring around, because again, that's additional costs. If you're trying to lug loads of stuff up to a particular event, make sure that it's kind of easy to carry and nicely packed. And in terms of virtual events, I have actually seen a few companies, that is something that we can also look into, where they will actually create a virtual space and people can move around events like they're an avatar. So they can attend different rooms, and it's quite, even though it seems like it would be a cheaper alternative, it's quite costly to build these rooms. So I think a cost-effective way would be kind of looking into researching as much as possible on the online event opportunities, and then also attend events that could be free or could be at reduced cost. Because to attend an event, it doesn't, like, as an exhibitor, it's more what costs you is the space to exhibit, which is what takes up most of the cost for exhibiting. So again, just make sure that you've researched what you want to do, and then how much space you would need to get your message across and complete like the purpose of you attending this event.
I think those are some excellent points, and I just kind of want to reiterate some of those as well. Is the fact that you might find that a venue is expensive, but actually, if the load in, load out for the event and all your equipment is going to be easier, then it might save you time at the end of the day, setting up and packing away, and there's all these other things to consider outside of the event. It is leading up to the event, you're probably looking at around a month or two worth of work, and even then you'd probably even look at planning the event probably a year in advance to try and source that venue and things like that. And then obviously staff as well. If you need staff, you'll probably have to look closer to the time to see who's available, and actually knowledgeable about your product as well. So yeah, it's a lot more complex than just hiring someone who might not be so knowledgeable in your area. So yeah, there's a lot of other things to consider. Load in, load out. Your points around banners and things like that. It's important to, obviously, if you're having your venue event in a venue, is to put up signage just to where things, the amenities are, like signs to the toilets and things like that, or food, or because people need those access to those. So it's just obviously issuing that communication in the first instance as well. Yeah. Well, if that's everything, we would like to thank you for attending our first webinar. Hopefully we'll get better as we go along, and we'll cover some interesting topics. But if you have any questions or anything along those lines, you could just leave it in the comments below. You'll find this webinar on LinkedIn or YouTube or other places that we're going to be distributing it as well. We would very much appreciate any feedback that you might have as well. So we appreciate that. Just literally find us on LinkedIn, and we will look forward to hearing from you.